All right, we are rolling. So, really, what I'm doing here is just kind of reaching out to contractors, looking to get to know kind of what they're doing, the struggles that they're facing, the wins that they're facing, how business has been for them over a year that they've been in business or 20 years that they've been in business. Just kind of get to know what you guys are up to, give you guys a little bit of exposure, and kind of go
Yeah.
from there. So
Okay.
if you want to start with introducing yourself, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. I'm Steve Coffin. This is my son, Blaine Coffin. I own Harvey's Paving and Sealcoating here in Bangor, Maine.
Okay. And you're not you're only a couple hours away from where I'm just up in New Brunswick.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I live in Fredericton. I grew up in Woodstock though, which is about half an hour, 20 minutes away from the main border.
Yeah.
So not too far away from where you guys are. So
Yeah.
how long have you guys been doing seal coating and paving?
But this was my father-in-law's business before he retired in 2010.
Okay.
I started doing it just before he was born, 95.
Yep.
And my father-in-law had been doing this even back when his father had done it. So really, the Harvey Paving and Seal Coating name's been around for well over 40 years.
So the black gold runs in your veins, eh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you took it over in 2010, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He sold
awesome.
it to me in 2010. I worked, like I said, and I worked for him from in 95.
Sure. Sure. I imagine Blaine started a little bit later than you did on the business.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
He as a young teenager, he kind of bounced around with this a little bit, and then started getting more into it a little bit once he started turning 18.
Sure. Sure. And then was it basically just right onto the job from there? Or did you do anything in between, Blaine, or?
Uh, Basically, my grandfather. Well, before I started, sealing and helping out around the pavement. He put me out pretty young doing like his lawns and stuff like that. Basically, being the grunt of the place. So
Yeah.
I'd come here when I was a kid early in the morning, say, I don't know, it's like 13 years old, 14 years old. He dragged me out of bed at 5 in the morning. Hey, we got to go clean around the lot, get your ass up, or get your butt up. We got to
Yeah.
get ready to go to work. And then he'd drop me off, and I'd be doing all the odd jobs, like, especially like we have sealer tanks. We got a 300-gallon and we got a 550. And he'd stuff me in those in the dead of winter to clean them out, chisel out the frozen sealer.
Yeah.
So I definitely had to start from the bottom, but now I'm lucky to be out there on the road and leading crews and making sure the job gets done and quality stays where it needs to be, and interacting with customers, contractors. It's been fun, I'll tell you, all of it.
Nice. Nice. So talk to me a bit about the size of your crew that you have, or how many crews do you have?
Really, I usually just run three.
Okay.
Three guys can do. You know what I mean? It's here in Central Maine. There's it's not like kind of in the big cities where you can have doing big parking lots every day. The bulk of my work is all residential.
Yep.
Which most people they don't like to do residential because unless you're pumping out 8 to 10 driveways a day, there's not a lot of money in
Sure.
it. But like I say, the thing that sets me apart from most of the other ones around here is they all spray. I do it by hand. And the ones I would say within a 50-mile radius of me, I generally lay more in a week than most of them lay all season.
Interesting. So talk to me a bit about spraying versus laying it by hand. What the difference is, and what, like, for our listeners, what would be the advantage of laying it by hand?
Laying it by hand does take takes more time. Spraying it, I'm not here to down people that spray. It's everybody has their own way. It's just people around here, at least in my area, they prefer it done by hand.
Okay.
So the ones that do spray, they generally get a lot of the commercial because they can do it quicker,
Sure.
easier. I don't know what they make. If they make more, great, good for them. It's just that it's a process that we've used, since, forever. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's interesting. And I've worked in construction and done some concrete work and framing and stuff like that. I've never actually done asphalt or seal coating other than like the odd patch around the farm. But
Yeah.
talk to me a bit about, like, you mix sand in with the sealer. Is that...
No, when you spray it, you got to put sand in with it. It gives it some traction. When you're putting it down by hand, you really can't, because it doesn't spread like it does through a sprayer.
Sure.
And if you're sealing it that much, you're over sealing it, and it's going to make it slippery. I generally tell people every couple years, sometimes 3 years.
Yep.
And I got a handful that like to have it every year.
Sure. It just keeps it nice and black and looking fresh.
Yeah. And that's what they want. If the driveways really should be paved, but they don't want to pay to take it out, which they could be 70, 80-year-old people, and they just want to have it looking nice, have their property looking good. I let them know, and if they still want to do it, great. And but other than that, I try not to overseal ones, just because at some point it just becomes strictly cosmetic.
Right. And then you've got layers of seal, and it starts to get probably a little bit cruddy looking. And
yeah. If you do it every 2 or 3 years, it gives some time for that seal to wear off. And,
yep. Cool. So what, you didn't really have an opening date per se, like you kind of took over the business, but what was the toughest thing for you in the business, whether it was opening or kind of going through the years?
I was lucky enough that I took over a company that had been established. And when I first started doing this in '95, my father-in-law literally was the seal king.
Sure.
He could seal 7 days a week. He would do driveways on a weekend. You think he got a weekend off, and he's like, "No, I just lined up 15 driveways. You guys are going to work."
Yeah.
So he would lay more. You know what I mean? He just money hungry. He was an old school type guy.
Yeah.
Wrote us.
Yeah.
We were known more for the sealing. We get a share of the paving, but there's a million paving companies within a 5-mile radius of me.
Okay.
Whereas opposed to, there are some reputable seal coat companies around, and I help them whenever they need it. Not so much the mom and pop type, kind of just coming in to make a quick buck and leaving.
Right.
I don't really have anything to do with those, but I've got some friends that are in the seal coat business that are, one's right down the road. I've helped him. If I need something, he helps me.
Yeah.
It's not always about the money. Sometimes you may need something, and it's nice to have somebody around that can help you in this.
Someone that's got your back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess since starting wasn't really the hardship for you.
Yeah. No, it really wasn't. I mean, when I spent, I would say about 3 years kind of being the greenhorn, the grunt, taking, the brunt of everything. I went from the bottom, and then I started doing the sales part of it, which kind of helped a lot. If I start from the bottom, then got into the sales, because I knew everything that needed to be done. I didn't need to lie.
Right.
So, and one thing that was installed in me from the beginning is, try to get the job, but don't lie, because it's going to be a pain in the what come later.
Yeah. No, exactly. So go ahead.
Starting out, especially in sealing around here, kind of the problem that people are going to have is they're going to have to bid so low.
Sure.
You're almost working for wages or almost nothing.
Yeah.
And the sealing isn't fun, and I ain't gonna do it for free. I got to pay my guys, and got to make something at the end of the year.
Right.
I don't overcharge, but we're in this to make money, not make friends.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess once you started out and kind of took over the business, what's been the toughest thing since you kind of were kind of holding the reins and running the show?
probably the toughest thing. I mean, obviously, right now we're kind of up against it.
Yeah.
But I would say every year we got probably somebody that wants to start up, kind of do it in out of barrels, and they're doing it dirt cheap, and so then it kind of puts it on me to kind of say, do you want, I hate to do it, but if you want somebody that you don't know, or somebody that's been doing it for 25 years, it's been kind of well known,
Right.
And it works probably about 85% of the time. And these, if they're gonna, just last year somebody did a what would normally be about a $700 seal job, did it for $300,
Okay.
and they really did a horrible job, and I ended up getting every driveway around them because of that.
Right. So really the hardship is people think they can get into it easily. They start up and undercut and then do a shabby job.
Yeah, and if they do a great job for $300, or whatever that was, great. I hope it all works out for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't. If it's not realistic, I just I got to pay my insurances. The comp, the general liability.
Yep.
That this stuff doesn't come free.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Speaking of what's happening now, how is that affecting you guys? I mean, I don't know. Has the season really started for you?
No. Usually the seal coating season doesn't start in this area just because of the rain and this and that.
Yeah.
Well, sometime next month.
Sure.
We had a good last month was a very good weather-wise, and the calls started coming in, and then once the scare kind of came on, it dropped right off.
Sure.
So my plan is to just call. I got all my contracts for the last 3 or 4 years. Just call them. You want to get on the list this year? We're still a little bit away.
Yeah.
And then go from there, and then eventually the calls will come in, but it's kind of fighting our way into there to get to the point where everybody's feeling a bit safer.
Right. No, I mean it's crazy. I mean, here in New Brunswick, we just got the order, like everybody's got to stay 2 meters away from each other. So just about 6 feet away from each other, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? So it's a world that a lot of people aren't used to living in, and there's a lot of fear. So, but I mean, people are sitting at home and looking at their driveways, right? So there's still a chance that they're going to call you up and say, "Hey, can you do this now while I'm home? And I don't have to take a day off work to watch you guys or whatever."
Yeah. No, I mean, usually what I'll do is I'd like to have work lined up ahead of time.
Sure.
Like most people with construction.
Yeah.
So if I've done them before, I've got all their information, and usually a lot of them just call, say, "Hey, put me on the list." Most of them, I really don't even bump the price if they're on every other year schedule.
Sure.
Because the product material generally doesn't go up so much that I have to change the price unless it's a huge parking lot or something.
Sure. Sure.
But for driveways, a couple of bucks ain't gonna make a big difference either way.
Yep.
I've got some that I still do from when my father-in-law owned it.
Sure.
25-year-old prices, but they're older people, been here forever, so I don't. There's no money in the $150 driveways.
Yep.
But if I slide them in, it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to do them.
Yep.
Just to keep them happy, because when the time comes to pave it, they'll call me.
Sure. No, exactly. So you're kind of you're keeping your pipeline full that way. Kind of keeping old accounts open, keep making sure they're happy.
Yeah. Going there, sealing them might make $30, but they ain't gonna go anywhere else. I can't, to tell them, hey, I can't do it for 150 anymore. I got 300. It's just not right.
Right. So, what are you guys doing to get new clients in and kind of fill the pipeline that way?
A lot of the other paving contractors in my area don't seal.
Okay.
So if you were to call if you were to call them all, most of them are going to tell their customers to call me.
Got it.
Like I say, the other guy down the road, he does sealing. He's got 1 or 2 paving contractors, and you know, and he's good. He's a good dude. He's always helped me out.
Yeah.
But most of them, you know, I can send paving their way too, or they help me out with paving. But most of it, in the cases like that, they'll call me. I just looked at one the other day for another paving contractor. It's, you know, kind of spreading the wealth. I give them a little bit of a discount price. They make a few bucks on the end.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure. So you
Everybody-
basically got a referral program set up with a few of the contractors, and they shoot work your way, and you give them a
Yeah.
sliver. Yeah.
No, I'll just do it for them. They give them a price, and
Yeah.
and I do it for them. They make a few bucks. You know.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Good stuff.
Social media works as well, pretty good.
Yeah. I was looking at your Facebook page here, and you seem to kind of have a following on there, so that's good.
Yeah. Still trying to build it up, but you know, it started, you know, just off that account, the Harvey Paving site.
Yep.
I probably get, I would say $30,000 a year off something that's free.
Nice. Yeah. No, I'll shoot you a video. I just filmed a video for someone else before I hopped on here with you. I'll shoot you a video to kind of get more people into your Facebook page for free. It's just a simple thing. You can invite all your friends, and then they start seeing more of what you're doing and all that. I'll shoot that to you after this.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll just look through. I had a couple of questions here. I'll just make sure I kind of hit on them.
Yep.
I know things are kind of crazy right now and up in the air, but if you were to look kind of a year, 2 years down the road, what are your goals for the company and the business?
This year we're going to start getting into the crack filling on roads through another paving contractor. Went and bought a machine and contacted me, said if I get the machine, you know, would you take your guys and go do the work? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that will, you know, kind of build up so that at some point I can just have a crew doing that almost every day and have guys out seeing.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of roads around there, right? That need crack filling every year.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
And there's only a handful of people in Maine that do it. So, you know, like I said, there's plenty of money for everybody out there, plenty of work.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
It's just a matter of how bad you want it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, if you guys are set up for it, then and the money's there, it just makes sense to move into that anyway, right?
Yeah. You know,
no, that's awesome. I think that's kind of the questions that I mainly am asking people. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me or any more comments.
No, not for me.
Yeah, no. How is it up there versus down here? Like, what is your guys' start season? Are you guys kind of on the same weather path as us, or?
I think pretty well, yeah. So like I mentioned before, my background is more in construction and concrete. I've switched more over to working with contractors to help them with their businesses and whatnot. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, this interview sort of setup is basically allowing me to kind of meet people and get to know their business a bit more and get to know kind of the ins and outs and the struggles that the industry is dealing with. So I'm not actually out on the road doing it. But yeah, I mean, we're only a couple hours north of you, so it's pretty well the same setup.
Yeah.
You guys, are you marked essential services still? Or?
Yeah. We I took, you know, the paving is considered essential construction.
Yeah.
But just to kind of dot my I's and cross my T's, I went on the site there and got the deemed essential and the paperwork to, you know, kind of cover my backside.
Yep. Sorry, I interrupted you there, Blaine.
Oh, no. The only thing I could really say that has worked well for me and him is he's very knowledgeable. He reaches out to people, and at the end of the day, after he's gone out and while I'm working, and he's meeting with customers and discussing, it's definitely good to have that one-on-one communication. Say, all right, I want to look at this driveway, this customer requests, you know, this. So it's definitely good to have an open communication versus somebody that says, hey, go do this driveway, because, you know, not every driveway is going to be different.
Sure.
Or not everybody's going to be the same.
you're talking between between you and Steve there, just communicating and kind of making sure that
Yeah.
your lines. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, and I mean, I guess on that note, if you guys have any tips for people who are starting out, not even in your area, but just kind of starting out in the business, what tips would you give people who are starting out?
Be hungry. You're gonna, the first couple of years you're gonna have it rough. You know, the I would say probably the first 2 years you're not going to make very much money, but if you take care of your customers, treat them like family, you may have driveways that you have to redo. Accidents happen.
Yep.
Don't be messy. You know.
You know, OCD is not a bad thing. Being on point, and you know, I view it as if that was my driveway. How would I want it to look? You know, when you lay sealer, if it gets on the lawn, you know, sometimes you can't prevent it. But if you take that extra 5 minutes and kind of make sure that you can, when you drag the sides and pull it down, so then you can work in the middle, you make sure it's straight. You know, they look at that and they go, "Wow, you know, I don't have to worry about it on my lawn. I don't have to go out and pluck sealer off grass." It's just the small things that, you know, people will mention to the next person and then the next person. So that those small things you may think are small, and yes, that's 5 minutes extra your day, but that can make you more money in the future.
Sure.
A little bit extra time.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. Well, I appreciate it, guys. I'll wrap up the recording here, and then we can chat off recording here just a little bit.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. All right. Thanks.